Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Sivan Raviv, coming to you live from Israel, bringing you all the biggest headlines from across the region in this special edition as the war with Iran intensifies. We are now more than 30 hours into a coordinated joint U.S.-Israeli assault on Iran, a broad and synchronized campaign targeting the Islamic Republic's leadership and military infrastructure. What began as a dramatic escalation has now evolved into a full-scale regional confrontation with consequences unfolding by the minute. Iran has confirmed that Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Tehran at the opening of the offensive. The strike reportedly targeted a secured compound in central Tehran in broad daylight with multiple munitions dropped in a highly coordinated operation. Khamenei, who ruled Iran for more than 30 years after succeeding Ruhollah Khamenei in 1989, was the ultimate authority over Iran's political, military, and nuclear decisions. His death marks a historic turning point, not only for Iran, but for the entire Middle East. Tehran's response was immediate and forceful. Multiple waves of ballistic missiles were launched toward Israel, sending millions of civilians rushing into shelters as air defense systems intercepted the majority of incoming threats. Throughout the day, non-stop sirens echoed across the country. Impact sites were reported in Tel Aviv and in the city of Beit Shemesh. At least 10 people have been confirmed dead so far, including 9 in Beit Shemesh and 1 woman in Tel Aviv. Dozens more have been injured, and search and rescue teams remain on the ground, combing through damaged buildings and assisting traumatized families. Israel remains under a nationwide state of emergency. Airspace is closed. Tens of thousands of reservists have been called up. According to Israeli officials, since the offensive began, hundreds of targets across Iran have been struck. These include senior regime figures, Revolutionary Guard commanders, strategic intelligence hubs, missile production facilities, and key components of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that the operation, codenamed Lion's Roar, was launched to eliminate what he described as an existential threat to the State of Israel and to create conditions for a different future for the Iranian people. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed that American forces had begun major combat operations alongside Israel, pledging to dismantle Iran's missile industry and neutralize its naval capabilities. He also issued a direct message to the Iranian public, calling this a historic opportunity to reclaim their country from what he called a tyrannical regime. The scale of the strike on Tehran was unprecedented. Reports indicate that approximately 30 bombs were dropped on the Supreme Leader's compound. Iranian state media confirmed the destruction and announced a 40-day mourning period. The Revolutionary Guard vowed revenge, declaring that retaliation would not be limited to Israel alone. Under Khamenei's leadership, Iran expanded uranium enrichment, built a vast missile arsenal, and funded proxy groups across the region, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, Shiite militias in Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen. Hostility toward Israel in the United States was a defining feature of his rule. At home, dissent was met with crackdowns, arrests, and executions. Abroad, Iran positioned itself as the leader of what it called the axis of resistance. Now, with Khamenei gone, Iran faces internal uncertainty. Questions loom over succession and stability. There are reports that former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad may also have been targeted in a separate strike, though confirmation remains unclear. Ahmadinejad, known for his Holocaust denial and inflammatory rhetoric against Israel, symbolized a hardline era in Iranian politics. Whether or not he was killed, the symbolic weight of these strikes is enormous.
Meanwhile, the conflict is expanding beyond Israel and Iran. For the first time, Gulf states have come under direct fire. Missiles have been reported targeting cities including Doha, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, Manama, and Kuwait City. In the United Arab Emirates, at least 2 civilians were reportedly killed by falling debris. In Kuwait, several military personnel were injured after intercepts near a base hosting U.S. forces. Bahrain experienced prolonged alerts and missile interceptions near American naval facilities. The attack pattern suggests Iran is widening the battlefield, potentially aiming to deter Gulf cooperation with Washington in Jerusalem. Saudi Arabia has reportedly signaled it may join the war effort. If confirmed, that would mark a dramatic regional realignment. The Gulf states, some of which had cautiously pursued dialogue with Tehran in recent years, now face direct aggression. Inside Israel, daily life has shifted underground. Public bomb shelters in Tel Aviv have transformed into temporary living quarters. Families have set up tents, brought mattresses, and created makeshift offices. Wi-Fi connections allow people to continue working remotely from 4 stories below ground. Parents are juggling Zoom calls while comforting children. Pets sit alongside families as sirens sound above. The resilience of Israeli civilians is once again on display, even as anxiety and exhaustion grow. In Jerusalem, streets are nearly empty. Grocery stores and pharmacies remain open, but foot traffic is sparse. Many residents stay close to shelters, following home front command instructions to remain within immediate reach of protected spaces. The sense across the country is one of vigilance and unity, but also of profound uncertainty. Military analysts note the unprecedented coordination between Israel and the United States. Over 200 aircraft reportedly participated in the opening strikes, covering distances of more than 2,000 kilometers. Targets were divided strategically. American forces focused on fixed nuclear and strategic sites, while Israeli aircraft conducted rapid strikes on time-sensitive targets using real-time intelligence. The larger question now centers on the goals of this war. Is the objective limited to degrading Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities, or is regime change the ultimate aim? Some experts argue that eliminating key assets, nuclear infrastructure, missile stockpiles, senior leadership, could destabilize the regime enough to trigger internal collapse. Others caution that air power alone cannot bring down a government entrenched for decades without significant internal uprising. There are also political pressures inside the United States. While President Trump has framed the operation as decisive and necessary, there were reports of American casualties, and domestic opposition could grow if losses mount. Within Israel, however, public opinion largely views Iran as the central long-term threat. Another critical dimension is Iran's network of proxies. So far, Hezbollah has not launched a large-scale offensive from Lebanon, and the Houthis have been relatively restrained. Whether this restraint is strategic patience or internal weakness remains unclear. A coordinated proxy escalation could significantly widen the conflict. The war has already stranded tens of thousands of Israelis abroad, with Israeli airspace closed and flights suspended at Ben Gurion Airport. More than 40,000 passengers are affected. National carrier El Al has halted ticket sales and is preparing a large-scale rescue operation once skies reopen. Foreign tourists inside Israel face uncertainty as well. Humanitarian and psychological impacts are mounting. Emergency medical teams are treating not only physical injuries, but also trauma. Psychotrauma units are working with families, especially children, to help them process shock and fear. Volunteers describe scenes of devastation in Bet Shemesh, where residential buildings and even a synagogue were heavily damaged. Jewish prayer books lay scattered across rubble, a stark image of the war's human toll. Regionally, this confrontation has already reshaped alliances. Iran's strikes on the Gulf states risk pushing them closer to Israel and the United States, potentially reviving discussions around expanded normalization efforts. At the same time, the danger of miscalculation grows with each passing hour. As we speak, sirens continue to sound. Missile interceptions light up the night sky. Leaders exchange warnings. Military operations expand. The Middle East stands at a crossroads. With the death of Ali Khamenei, a chapter in Iranian history has ended, but what replaces it remains uncertain. We will continue to follow developments closely, bringing you verified updates as they come in. This is an evolving and deeply consequential moment for Israel, for Iran, and for the wider region. Stay safe, stay informed, and we will keep you updated as this story unfolds.